afternoon. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome in to the Maize and Blue Reviews. Good afternoon, Michigan football. Woo! Under 70 days now until kickoff, and yet that was just outside, and it feels like 95 degrees in southeast Michigan. Over the weekend at one point, it felt like 100 degrees. You know that, but everybody likes saying it, So I was headed to the sauna for a few minutes today. The guy said, "Where are you going? Why don't you just go outside?" I knew he was going to say it, and he did. And he had a point. You go outside. You don't need a sauna. It's a sauna. Just walk outside. It's like this winter at one point when I see all these people. I think it's kind of a new fad where they jump in the ice bucket challenges, or they just do it, just go into freezing cold water. They see them sometimes with axes breaking up the ice and then going in there. And I feel like I've been doing this all my life in Michigan, just getting in my car, waiting for it to warm up. It's a little colder, I would guess, in the ice water, but it's pretty close. So I don't know, some things that I'm thinking about as we get ready to get things underway and talk about Michigan, which things were pretty hot for the Wolverines over this weekend, and we're going to get to that. Recruiting is on fire for Michigan, and I've been asked to talk about basketball more, Michigan basketball more, so you're going to have to not twist my arm. That's going to be a pretty easy thing to do, talking about basketball. So I will spotlight a player today to talk about, but let's get going out of the gate with Michigan picking up a commitment over the weekend, and he is a running back, and he is from none other than Columbus, Ohio. Jonathan Brown is in with a commitment. He was at a Michigan camp recently, and he was named MVP of the camp. So the coaches were able to get a look at him, obviously offering him, and then he said, "Let's go." And so he's in. A 3-star running back out of Ohio, a 3-star running back out of Columbus, Ohio. And what do you think of this immediately? You think, all right, great. But what about Hyder, who's number one on, I think, everyone's board, including Michigan's board? And yeah, you say, what about him? He's not going to, Brown's not going to scare off Hyder. And Michigan, it just even specifically with running backs, I'm the same way. If this was a 5-star running back, it'd be like, woo, a lot more fanfare involved. But we have seen it time and time again where the coaches, they might think he's, they certainly, I would think, have an up arrow next to him, but I don't think they're like, well, he's just a 3-star. They, they like him. They like him a lot more maybe than they recruiting analysts do. So Michigan able to pick up a running back. That's good news. I like almost anytime Michigan picks up a player from the state of Ohio. I know that they've got to be a different kind of kid, because you go down to Ohio and the football fans there, they really lay into you. They really give it to you. Like, there's things that you can do to upset people, like, have your dog go to the bathroom on their lawn and not pick it up, or, I don't know, shoot fireworks into the night, and, those kind of things. Knock on your door and run, the little kids, and, you deal with some of that from the neighborhood kids. But if a neighborhood kid said he's going to go play football at Michigan, woo, man, it's such a betrayal to everything that an Ohioan stands for. And he's just an outcast then for scarlet letter, so to speak, forever. in the state of Ohio, even the school teachers and administrators who are all like, "Oh, we just want for the best for the kids," they're all like, "You had to pick Michigan," and so I always like that part because I know the kid's going to have to deal with a lot, and they can come up and maybe they can stick it to Ohio, the state of Ohio, obviously Ohio State, and I like that part. And you can tell from the kids from Ohio, they do have to deal with that, and then specifically ones that are from the belly of the beast, Columbus. You've got a few. Marcus Ray back in the day, safety from the national championship team. He was directly from Columbus. I mean, you can start going to the outskirts, so there's quite a few. You get to Pinkerton, and you just keep going, and but the whole state really is like that. So welcome in Jonathan Brown. I think it's good for Michigan. Like I said before, the fanfare and excitement level is commensurate with like with a ranking. If you got a number one, got like a Bryce Underwood. I mean, he's the greatest ever, quarterback, and I mean it's just out of sight. You get a 3-star, and I tend to root for the underdog. It's like me rooting for the Indiana Pacers without, it was a game 7. Am I just going to watch and hope for a good game? Yes. But am I going to try to root? Yes, I'm going to root for the underdog. And, 7 or so minutes in, when their star went down with what looked like and was an Achilles injury, it felt like the game was over. Yeah, but the point is that I root for the underdogs. I root for the light star players, low star players, differently than I do. You have the expectations for the big dogs, and then you kind of root the way I do it, root for the small guys. So Michigan gets a running back in Brown. Now, there's a lot of news here, so I'm just going to go through the things that jumped out to me as we sit here on this Monday. And remember, we're here on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 2:00. If you ever have any questions, any thoughts, things that you want me to talk about, you want the Maize and Blue Review to talk about, fire away. And if I don't address it live during the show, I go back and we'll check out the comments, and you can find me, whether it's on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, places such as those. I'm there, and I'm checking it out. I like people talking about saying good afternoon to me. Here's UM on the feedback. He is saying big commitments are coming soon. Hyder, Meadows, Russell. Won't mind if we lose out on Ojo to Texas. The commitments are coming. The commitments are, it's happening. They're going to start at the end of this week. And, actually, I take that back. I think later on today, you can have something. Tomorrow, later on this week, and then it's just going to boom, 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 boom. I don't know about Hyder, if he's actually, or Meadows or Russell. Michigan might end up getting all 3 of those guys. I don't know if any of those 3 have said, this is when I am going to say something. You're talking about Ojo. There's Malachi Lee who's announcing, we'll get to coming up on Friday. If Michigan can get Lee or Ojo, sure, both, great. But if they get one of those guys, I think, you're going to be feeling pretty good if you're a Michigan fan. Antoine, one of all of our favorites, is joined us. It's great to see him. He's got some feedback. Let's read it. He is asking me about the House Bill 4643 that might become law that will allow Michigan colleges to usurp a lot of NCAA rules that will allow us to pay players more and exempt us from rules from the NCAA. I think I guess I don't know if I knew that I was reading Bill 4643, but I did see some of the comments or some of the language that Michigan and how they might be able to, it might be advantageous to the state of Michigan. It's the one part when we sit around and talk about NIL and talk about paying the players. Each state, it's going to be difficult until they get this collective bargaining, because if you're just allowing the states, they all have the different rules, and you keep citing Virginia, and well, Virginia was one where you can go through and say, no, you can't put any caps on how much players are earning, and as soon as these kind of things happen, even though they do have an opt-in, the language gets the lawyers seem to feel like, oh no, it's pretty easy. You opt in, and you have to follow the rules. And in these cases where you go back to your state law, you're going to have some things that you're going to have to deal with. So, yeah, here's the thing that I know, Antoine, as long as you do have NIL that you are allowed to pay the players and they don't have a collective bargaining agreement where there's no kind of cap on it, that Michigan right now is a have. They are one of, if you want to, extend it out, I don't know how far you'd want to extend it out to at least 10 teams that I could say, oh yeah, from Oregon, OSU, in Texas, Penn State, teams that have money backing them, and that they are going to be able to go out and pay players. There's at least 10, but there's probably more like 25. But the heavy hitters, but those other 15, they can still get involved and pick off a player or two. I saw, what was that? I was watching a short video of somebody complaining about NIL and saying, it's ruining competitive balance. And when I was watching it, I was thinking it's ruined a little bit for the SEC, specifically Alabama. Alabama, for the longest time, and they had Nick Saban, a lot of the SEC teams, they were able to get, it was pretty easy to have somebody kind of slide 50 or 100,000. This is just my perception of things. I think this is the way it went down over the course of the 21st century here. I think Alabama was able to slide, hey, here's 100,000. Take it. And then they started winning, and they had the ball rolling. It was pretty easy there. Alabama doesn't have that kind of treasure trove that they can just get after the players now. And I know that some of their fans are like, hey, yeah, of course they're not going to like NIL. They liked it when that was supposedly illegal, or not illegal, against the rules. It was a level 1 violation. They liked it when it was a level 1 violation because, they had people, not Saban directly, but of course, they were able to, they worked around that. The fans didn't care. They just wanted to keep winning, and they had it going good. It's shifted things around a little bit, but it's also opened things up for other schools to go out there. So, it's not perfect. They got a lot of work to do, and you can sit around and I think lawyers all love this stuff. People that like, the fine language, and, it's like, this is for them. They just love sitting around saying, no, you got to read the language or whatever. So, the bottom line for me, Antoine, is that Michigan is in a good spot. Yeah, maybe they'll get something like that going, and then, other states will have to figure out, how important football is, how important it is to, fight for, what is it, antitrust is what we're talking about, trying to cap someone's earnings. Are you worth what somebody's going to pay you? Is opting in college football, is that language going to hold up in the States? All of those kind of things. Mustafa says Scar is down in Ann Arbor trying to get commitment intel. You're right. Normally, Mustafa, Scar is here on Mondays, but a special treat for you is that Scar is going live tomorrow by himself. He was like, let me get out there, rip off the Band-Aid, turn on the live, let me start doing some shows. And it's not like he's never going to come back here on this Good Afternoon Michigan Football pod. But at least for right now on these Tuesdays, starting tomorrow, Scar is just going to be, it's going to be solo Scar. So stay tuned tomorrow for that with Jim Scarcelli jumping on. Mr. Martini, Biter would be wise to wait out his commitment. Hyder, I think you're talking about. I don't know, Hyder, what? It's Tennessee, Michigan, Ohio State. Is Texas still in there? He has been very deliberate. He has gone through, I think he's been to all of the teams that he likes, and now he needs to sit back and, decide which one has the best of all the things that he wants and what's really important to him. I don't know what the dollar figures are. I think like Michigan's been pretty competitive. They really want him. So whatever it is, competitive offer, I would think that they're right there with that. His agent knows, and if maybe you get into a situation where an agent's trying to play one off the other. That's usually what good agents do in the pros. And so maybe he'll let it play out a little bit like that, see if he can get a little bit more. But, at some point, you got to make that decision. So if that's what you're talking about, why he would be wise to wait out his commitment because he gets some more money, maybe I could see when I know what you're talking about. The great Detroit straight 8 up joining us. Tough question because there is no order with NIL. Yeah, no, that's right. It's NIL right now is, it's pay for play. It's everyone is a free agent, and this is what you're going to get. The things that we're waiting on are July 1st, which is right around the corner. If a player is going to sign this opt-in, where then you're going to have a group, Deloitte, is that what they're called? That they are going to evaluate the NIL, and however they're going to evaluate the player and whether he's going to be worth the money that a team is going to give him. I'm fascinated to find out how they feel like, oh, well, this guy deserves $1 million, but no, this guy is 500,000. I think they're going to have to use the recruiting rankings. And it just so happens that on July 1st, that Rivals and On3 are combining. And so, whatever their composite is going to be, it's almost like thinking about the college football playoff formula that they might want to use or look at, or whatever analytic that you'd like to use if you're a baseball fan. What is Deloitte? What kind of analytics are they going to use to determine whether $1 million for Hyder is fair? Or if he should only be getting 200,000, sure. The colleges would all like to be able to keep their expenses down and everything else, but that's not what they're there for. They're supposedly there to say if it's going to be true NIL. True NIL is what anyone would give you because you're you. I don't know how they're going to get around it. We got from straight 8 up a couple in a row here. Talking about the state might be trying to get out in front of the NIL legislation or pending rules. Yeah, we'll see. AJ is talking Tennessee. He says they had some type of law like this, but they signed some type of oath to waive their state rights. Then they were going to get kicked out of the SEC if they didn't. Well, that might be the thing, AJ, is that on July 1st, it's going to be time where you're either opting in or opting out. I don't know how much that gets talked about, but that's at least as far as where I'm at, That's my understanding when it comes down to it, and that's how this Deloitte is going to be evaluating NIL. I have also seen. I saw something last week. It's from the Michigan Daily. They said that 70% of the NIL deals that they saw last year or the year before would have been nixed. And I thought, wow, that's an awful lot. They're going to nix 70% of the NIL deals. And then there was something in The Athletic that said as soon as they're going to try to cap anybody's earnings, opt in or opt out or whatever it is there's going to be lawsuits coming left and right. So me trying to tell you the language and how that is going to work out in a court when we could sit here with a lawyer and they can explain it to me and then I don't understand them. Me telling you, I think you could already say, what the hell is he on about? I'm on about NIL. I'm not sure how they're going to cap it and what the rules are and what's going to happen. Mustafa wants to know about Scar. Scar's going to be on this very feed that you're watching or listening to right now. Same channel, same feed, just tomorrow. He's going to try a solo effort. And we're all going to, I know talking with him yesterday, I was ready to give him some tidbits, and he said, I think I'm good. I'm going to play some tape. I'm going to talk for a couple minutes, and then play some tape. I'm like, well, I think you are. You sound like you know what you're talking about. All right, Antoine, the return of Antoine, who says he thinks Michigan has a program that would have a lot of leverage against the Big Ten as an independent. The Big Ten would lose a lot of money. I'll predict that Michigan is not going to leave the Big Ten right now. I am, I'll stop short of a guarantee, but I don't really feel like that is going to happen. Fun to talk about, and doing this. I remember when the whole Patini and the suspension during the championship season, as wild as it was, there was some talk about just get out of the Big Ten, go for. They're going to stay in the Big Ten. So let's get to what's going on recruiting with where we're at right now. So Markel Dabney is a commitment to SMU, who on Friday said that he was going to announce on Saturday. And then we got to Saturday, and he said he was going to wait a day and announce on Sunday. That's where things have stopped for me. I look up Dabney's name, and you've got a bunch of people that are saying, oh, yeah, he wasn't going to go in on Saturday, so he pushed it to Sunday. And maybe it's just Michigan people. He ended up picking Pitt. He's down to Pitt, Michigan, or SMU. Maybe he just said he was going to Pitt, and everybody was like, the hell with him, and they didn't even post anything about it, and everybody just forgot about him. Or something happened where he postponed it again, but I did not see that. But I also did not see anything official or that he picked a school, even though he himself had said that he was making a decision on Sunday, but I don't see any decision from him. Confusing. Hey, he's 17 years old. Who knows what happens? Maybe he decided, I'm going to wait another week. I'll just go in the dark for a week or so and see what happens. I don't know. Maybe he wanted to go swimming or something like that. And so I don't know for sure if Michigan's out of it. If I had to guess, I think he's going to Pitt. But things were looking like he was going to go to Michigan. But so don't completely scratch him off your list, but maybe just put a pencil through Dabney's name. That's as much as I know about him. You might know more. I do know about this wide receiver that came in over the weekend. And today's show really is the theme of wide receivers. And as much as I talked about it, just like everybody else, it made a lot of sense that having Bryce Underwood would have wide receivers across the country, some of the best, eyeballing Michigan and ultimately having a higher grade of wide receiver committing and then playing with Michigan to play along with Bryce Underwood. It seemed pretty obvious. But when you see it happening, and I think it's happening a little bit quicker than I suspected. And so Kelvin Russell just pops up the third, a wide receiver out of Miami. He comes in. He's one of the top wide receivers in the country. Michigan's already, it looks like they've got 3 that are trending towards coming to Ann Arbor. You get through the weekend, and now it looks like Russell wants in. So then you're like, wait, how many wide receivers? They can probably take 3, but they've got 3 top wide receivers, and they're all look like they want to come to Michigan. And as far as Bryce Underwood committed to Michigan the week of the North in November, mid-November last year. And then Michigan didn't lose a game. Underwood wasn't playing, but 2 of the 3 games, it was shocking that they won. The Ohio State game, obviously, that was shocking. Great win by Michigan, 13-10. And then the bowl game against the first string against Alabama, when Michigan was had a lot of their guys opting out, and they were playing a bunch of young guys, and they beat Alabama 19-13. That was just somewhat shocking as well. The Underwood didn't have anything to do with that, but it just so happens that ever since he's been around, things have really taken have had a bright outlook. And there was a point yesterday where I'm sitting here and I'm on the Maize and Blue Review, and they start just posting pictures of the recruits on Victor's weekend. And these guys, and what I forgot about with Underwood is that not only, he's the quarterback, it looks like he's going to be the quarterback this year, is that he's out there and he's the one. Brady Smigel, the quarterback that committed for 26 out of California, he put a picture of himself along with Underwood, and then Kelvin Russell. All these guys that are these top wide receivers, they put the number 1 jersey on. Man, they all look good in the 1 jersey. The Michigan uniform looks good to start with. Let's just start there. They've got the best uniforms, but a number 1 in the Maize and Blue, and you're a top wide receiver. It's just like, man, it just fits. It just fits. And but Underwood, the quote that I saw from Josh Henschke, the publisher of the Maize and Blue Review, is that he said Underwood has been heavily involved in the recruitment of these guys when they come in. Yeah, he was hanging out with Smigel, who's going to be in the quarterback room for a year or 2 with him, 2 or 3 years maybe. And then Russell was also in that picture. And then, Michigan feels pretty good. And then Russell's liking Michigan. It's just, Underwood must have an aura about him where they go out and these guys, they start hanging out. They go over, I put a sort of a collage of Kelvin Russell social media. He's there wearing the 1 jersey. Like I said, he passes the look test. There's a small picture over here. Maybe now that I'm looking at it, I should have blown it up a little bit more, because you really have to kind of zero in on it. But it's coming out of the tunnel. You've got Underwood and Russell. So what's happening here? It's going to be speculation on my part. Bryce Underwood's got a football in his hand. Kelvin Russell's a wide receiver. They're walking into the big house. Let's throw some passes. Just takes a couple. Guys are athletes. If I was at Michigan Stadium and you had the quarterback of the future there, I'd say, throw me a couple passes, And so along with whatever his personality is being infectious, the talent, he's out there. And recruiting, it just felt like that this is something that I think we all knew. And but once you talk it out, which is what I'm doing right now, is that Bryce Underwood is a dynamic player, a dynamic prospect, and maybe a dynamic recruiter. All of these things, and things that just it just feels like. I feel like I could feel it. I feel like the Underwood era, and that guys are just jumping on and want to be a part of it. So it's he came along with a lot of fanfare. There's more hype around him than anyone ever. He's big time. He looks like he's going to start from game one. I mean, so far, this now he's just got to go out there. Oh yeah, the small part, he's just got to go out there and perform. But right now, everything with Underwood is just coming out roses and looks great. And so he's big time. He's just got to go out there and play. So Russell, let me tell you about more of these wide receivers. But first, I want to tell you about the Maize and Blue Review. That's what the feed that you're watching right now, Rivals.com. Good afternoon, Michigan football. And I am here to tell you, we just had the NBA end last night. No more basketball, hockey last week. So now it's just baseball and recruiting for the next couple months. And here's the time where if you're one of those fans that are like, oh man, every year, it's a little bit depressing, where it's, even though, it's 67 days, you're just counting down football. What do you do to keep yourself entertained? And when you don't have basketball, you don't have hockey, maybe not even like baseball, you only have the British Open left. Well, you follow recruiting, which right now hits. And it will over the next certainly 3 weeks, where Michigan's going to be pulling in players left and right. You can get in and get a front row seat for all of it and enjoy it and be involved in the action. How do you do it? Go to michigan.rivals.com, sign up, and join the Maize and Blue Review today. That's how you get it done. So as far as the wide receivers go, you guys can answer this question for me. I've got 4 now wide receivers on the board. Michigan, I would think, would only take 3. Are they just, is it first come, first serve? Let's look at the list. Travis Johnson, I put the composite. First time for me doing that. I usually just went to rivals.com, but with this merger coming up, and as soon as I say something about, this guy's a rival, somebody always comes, well, yeah, but he's a composite this. And so it's more information. It does seem like a good way to go about it, putting the composite number. That's what I did here with the wideouts. Travis Johnson is like the composite 21st best wide receiver. You see, Rivals has him at number 10. So he's up there in a top 55 player in the country, the wide receiver out of Virginia. He's coming to Michigan. It's just a matter of when he's going to make his decision. Everyone thinks he's coming to Michigan. He's pretty much told everybody he's coming to Michigan. He's coming to Michigan. Travis Johnson, wide receiver. And he is in the mold of what Sharon Moore back this last National Signing Day, or at least this National Signing Day presser, when he said, I like bigger wide receivers. And if you notice, Travis Johnson, 6'4". Calvin Russell III, who was in this week, 6'5". Zion Robinson, 6'4". The outlier here is C.J. Sadler, who we're going to get to in a moment. It was 5'11". But I think Johnson is in. Zion Robinson is supposed. So July 4th is when I believe. Actually, I think I have it. Yeah, there it is. July 4th. The fireworks are going to be maize and blue for Travis Johnson. I'm expecting him to get maize and blue fireworks and set him off. Or I don't know. Maybe you can do this. Just get one big firework, light the wick, sit back, and let it shoot into the sky and let it come out with a big block out. Now that's the way to do it. TJ, That's what we're expecting coming up on July 4th. Not so far away. So he's in. I'm expecting. Robinson's supposed to make his announcement later, late July. I think he said at the end of July, which is late July. He's a top 20 composite wide receiver. If you notice, Russell is a top 5 guy. Now, Rivals has him as a top 20, but a couple of the other sites obviously have him pretty high. They have him inside the top 5. Maybe it's the way it goes for people that follow all of the different rankings from all the different sites, where you can get somebody at 20, you can get somebody down at 2 or 3. But there's enough folks who have watched Russell that think he's just going to be a star. And right now, coming out of the Michigan official visit this weekend, Michigan's got an up arrow. But look, Russell, as you would expect, the third from a guy who is down in played his high school ball in South Florida, Miami, that, of course, the U is going to want him. He likes LSU. He likes Florida State. And he likes Michigan. That seems like a very tough poll, but Michigan did a great job this weekend, and they're feeling good about him. So maybe Calvin Russell is in play now, so don't completely discount him. And that's where Bryce Underwood came in, throwing the football down to him. If you've watched or listened to enough recruits over the years and say, hey, why did you end up picking the school? The majority of them come back and say it was just a feel. It was just it felt right. You went in there, and that's what the word was over the weekend. You get down there with Underwood for whatever you get. I can't wait. I've never been within, I don't know, a couple miles of him. So I've never been I haven't watched him play live. I say a couple miles because I think I've, been down to Ann Arbor, and, he's probably been over at the facility of a couple miles. But I think that you get within 20 feet of this guy, and it's like a force field, and you're just drawn to him, and you just want to be like, I want to play football with this guy. Let's go. And I think that's what happened with Calvin Russell over this weekend. And so Sadler's the interesting one here. He's got something going on that he's working through and he's dealing with. And then he is going to presumably, start getting things involved and with his recruitment. But Michigan, since, he could, I was going to say before he could walk, there's been in on him. They've been in on him for forever. They got a great relationship apparently with him. He's the top player in the state. He's Rivals thinks he's the number 3 wide receiver in the country. He's damn near a 5-star. I mean, he wants to be a two-way player. He wants to be Travis Hunter, Charles Woodson. He has not set up his visits. I don't know. Did he go to North Carolina? I thought Colorado was on the radar, and of course Michigan. So we'll see. But if these other 3 end up coming in, what's going to happen with Sadler? I mean, you're going to take 4. I don't know. Even when you're taking 3 like super highly rated guys, it was Ohio State for a couple years. I mean, Ohio State, when you talk wide receiver recruiting, it's like they're getting a number 1 guy, they're getting a number 2 guy, they're getting a number 3 guy, and they all go in there. It's like, well, you can't. What are you doing? You're taking 3 wide receivers, and you got to play them all at once, and so. But hey, you just keep taking the best players and let them compete and see what happens. So if you want my opinion on these wideouts, I don't know enough that the Sadler situation has a question mark on it, where there's something going on with this situation that may have it just playing out to be a long recruitment. Maybe it even gets into the fall. And if you're Michigan, though, even if you have a great relationship, you always say, hey, we're going to have a spot for you, but we're also going to take 3 other guys. That doesn't seem likely. Are they going to say, hey, we'll put you over on defense? Then we'll just sprinkle you in like the Jags are going to do on offense? As a true freshman, can you even talk like that to a true freshman? Hey, we'll work you over on the defensive side, and then we'll when you're ready, we'll sprinkle you in. So I don't know. But that's what I'm thinking. If you can get a 5-star or top 20 wide receiver in the hand is better than a Sadler in the bush. So they'll take these 3 guys, and then they'll deal with Sadler when that comes around. Like I said, I just made up a scenario. Made up, but not the craziest line of thinking when you're talking about a kid that has said that he wanted to play both ways, and you could sell him on starting out on the defensive side and playing it like that. So that's how I see that when it comes down to the receivers. Let me hit some more feedback, and then we will go to some more recruiting. Let's see where we're at here, where we left off. Oh, here's Rip. What's up, Rip? Rip saying like the live. Yeah, thank you. Let's do it. Dave's talking NIL legislation. They can sign whatever they want. It doesn't sidestep state law. Okay, that's it. AJ coming in. Do you think a good strategy for Michigan or any other team is to bid for other players that they don't necessarily want, only to overextend teams and their money resources? Drive the market up when you really don't have the intention of going with a player to get other teams to spend their money. Now, this is done in the pros, but a good strategy, I think situationally, I think that maybe. Like I could think of a situation if you were head to head with Ohio. Let's just say it's well, no, they want Hyder. I don't know. I think that if it's your rival and they don't really know that you've got 2-3 backup plans that are as good as the player that you're on, and you've got a really good feeling that they're going to match whatever you do. Well, yeah, I think that in that situation, drive it up. I think you also have to be careful with that. I mean, you just keep like, yeah, here's $1 million. We'll go 1-2. Do I hear 1-3? We'll go 1-3. And then all of a sudden he's like, sold 1-3. You got to be prepared to take him. But yeah, I think that is in play now. I mean, you're not doing it across the board on every guy, but could I see that happening as you are working through NIL? There's money involved. Yes. Detroit has a question. As he says, it's his only question. He said, will we develop as a football culture, game plan wise, to keep an elite wide receiver is the question. Well, any football coach or program that are worth anything, they're going to have their culture, they're going to have their identity, which for Michigan is running the ball, but you're also going to play this to the strength of your players. And I believe Underwood, maybe not in the first 3 games, maybe not even in the first 6 games, maybe not even in the first year. I don't think he's going to be a lot better in the second year than his first year, but he might be really good in his first year. If you got a guy that can throw the ball all over the field, if you've got, and from all indications, from the time this kid's been a freshman, is that he's completely special. If you have a precocious, special freshman who can show off that arm and have defenses backing up, yeah, you're going to let him do it. I thought that was a fascinating part of the spring game. that was watched, and people were like, you never get anything out of the spring game. Michigan had Underwood throwing the ball all day long. Not just he took all of the reps for the blue team, and at times he uncorked the 50-plus yarder. It was incomplete, and he missed it by 4 or 5 yards. But he was also throwing, 35-yard bomb down the sideline. I mean, he made all of the throw. He didn't connect any of the ones downfield. Could have. Browder could have had one. Same thing down in the end zone when he threw a couple down there. Browder could have had another one. And then his best throws were all these underneath ones that he was just zipping in there to the tight end Hoffman. He was just throwing it out there. Maybe the Michigan defense that had watched him in practice knew that it was a good time to just step off and step back, because if not, he was going to beat him deep. So, yeah, I think that if you don't bring in a guy like Underwood, it would be like if you were a basketball team back in the day when, they had Patrick Ewing, and then it was Mutombo and Alonzo Mourning. They were throwing the ball inside. They were going to be a low post team. But if you bring in a great shooter, shoot. And you gotta let him shoot. You don't go in and say, well, you can still go down low, but you're going to let a shooter shoot. You're going to let a quarterback, if he can do it, you are going to bang it out down and complement that. That's the one thing about a run game. We talk about it so much. In a passing game, everybody does. But it's pretty elementary. They both can play off of one another. Nothing can help a passing game out more than a great running game. You get a little play action, next thing you know, freezing everybody up. You only need that step or two, boom. And nothing. You get a quarterback that can really put the ball down the field, and you got defensive backs that are worried about the ball going over your head. Well, they're not peeking into the backfield. They're worried about getting beat, so they're backing up. That helps a running game. They help each other. Rip is talking about stopping giving the one to players unless they earn it. When I see that, I agree, and yet, what if? What if it came down to, let's say, Calvin Russell III, and he's like, I really want the number one. That's going to be I'm ready to commit. It's you, it's the you, and it's Michigan. And I just can't decide. Rip, are you going to say, nope, you got to earn the number one? I might give it to him then. Detroit is still talking about what the OC is calling. I think you're going to see typical Michigan football in maybe not the opener. You can do whatever you want in the opener. I think you will see him air it out a little bit in the opener, because that's a practice game. There's no chance that they're going to lose that game. But I think against Oklahoma, you're going to see a lot of running. I think when Michigan goes on the road against Nebraska, you're going to see a lot of running. You're going to see the same thing but more and more. He gets his feet wet, and whatever he's ready to do, it's going to be a work in progress. Michigan needs a Ben Johnson type of innovation overhaul. Well, let's give Chip Lindsey a chance. And Chip Lindsey has his idea. But if you just let's take the spring game as an example. They let Bryce Underwood throw the ball down the field, throw bombs. He wasn't connecting on them. So, I don't know, Ben Johnson, when I see Ben Johnson, I think you want hooking laterals, you want flea flickers, you want all this. You know what you don't want? You don't want guys that don't deserve and that you shouldn't trust. Like Jamison Williams throwing the ball in a playoff game. You know what you don't want, even though they're very, very talented, and a lot of other teams have adopted it. It's situational when you're going for it. They shouldn't have gone for it, especially that second time against San Francisco. Ben Johnson could have cost the Lions a Super Bowl bid. He did by trusting Jameson Williams, who showed that earlier in the game by waving the football around when he was running into the end zone and then humping the sideline, that let's not put the ball in his hands and have him throw it. You love him going out and catching the ball, not throwing it. Because what can happen there is that he has demonstrated, even in the very game that you played, that he's going to make a bad decision, that he's prone to make a bad decision. So you're going to put a team that was ready to go to the Super Bowl, host the NFC Championship game. Let's let Jameson Williams throw the ball. Everybody knew. They just make excuses for it. That was stupid by Ben Johnson. But I get back to it. You wanted innovation overhaul. The offense, the Lions have great offensive line, great receivers, and great running backs. You and I, Detroit, if Michigan had the kind of talent that the Lions had on offense, we would be very innovative. That's it. Southside. Let's see. Rip Stars talking about mailing me some of those cartel cokes. I went to Hermanos, some kind of, I think it's a Mexican restaurant. I forget that, but Hermanos is on there, which means brothers. That's in Ann Arbor. And I was ordering up some tacos, and I looked over and they had a cooler, and they had some of the, what they call them, Mexican Cokes. I went over there. It's like $5 for, was it that much? $3.50 for a bottle, one bottle of Coke. I was like, is this Coca-Cola, or is they spend $3.50 for? All right. Junko. What's up, Junko? I've been around for a long time. I've never heard anybody go by Junko before. So I like it already. And he loves the show. Like that. Faithful listener while he's on the treadmill. Nice job. Wondering how Soup is adding to the wide receiver room. Is that a real thing or just fan hype? Well, I'm a big Soup guy. So we're going to have to see what's going to happen once we get out there come September. I think that he's an excellent wide receiver coach. Fundamentals, blocking, the combination of he and Ron Bellamy. I think, I like both of those guys. The question about him, he's been around the block long enough, or for as many times he's worked with some of the best. He has everything. The easy answer for me to say, yeah, I think it's a real thing. I do think it's a real thing. I think Soup connects with the young kids. He's and I think that he'll have an impact. But there is also, you take a coach who played at Michigan. So he's a Michigan man. People like that automatically. You take a coach who also was around for a long time and coached some great wide receivers. And you go down through the list, like, David Terrell, and you can just keep going. Braylon, you keep going through there. And so then he leaves and he comes back. You're like, this is the Michigan man. It's like Harbaugh, but Harbaugh, no, maybe not Harbaugh, but the Michigan man part. You're bringing back a Michigan man, you're going to think that he's going to be the real deal. But I think he will be. Antoine. he's always talking about the rankings. And he says these ranking sites don't know what they're talking about. Most of the ranking scouts haven't even seen the guys personally. It'd be better off just looking at the tape yourself. Well, if you're talking about looking at the tape yourself, if you're Deloitte, Deloitte, they've got their lawyers, and those guys might be great at lawyering, but what do they know about looking at a football tape? These guys might not know a football from a basketball if you offer it up. So, Antoine, that's the interesting part. They have to evaluate an NIL deal, but they also have to say, hey, they have to have some kind of ranking for these players. If some 3-star wide receiver is being offered $1 million and you got a 5-star being offered $1 million, are they just going to be like, well, no, neither deal? So as much as anyone that, and I get criticizing, I don't know specifically the people that work, but guess what? I think you would be surprised. And I think the easy part is just like, these guys suck. These guys don't know football. What are they ranking? And people bitch about the rankings all the time. And until you try doing some rankings yourself with almost anything, rank something. Do a ranking of 25 things and then put it up and then ask 10 people about the rankings. You know what they do? They immediately are finding, oh, you kidding me? No, this Antoine's a clown. So that's what goes off. So, yeah, I don't know if these ranking sites, when you're talking about they don't see the guys personally. Well, what if you go out and see a guy personally and he has a good day? I mean, it is really subjective all over the place. You see it in the different ways that you go through the rankings. But, it depends how much tape you're looking at. I'll tell you, if I talked to a scout and he said, I watched every single game, all game of this wide receiver, and I saw him out at different camps, and I talked to his coach, and I talked to another 10 evaluators. And what else do I want? I was listening today to an NBA pod, and the guys were like, oh, we're really grinding out that college tape right now because the draft is on Wednesday. I mean, I do the same thing. I watch a 5-minute highlight tape. I'm like, ooh. It's like I watch Yaxel Lendeborg. I haven't watched an entire game of him. I've watched some highlights. I get a feel for what he can do out on the floor. But if I get and watch a few UAB games, I'm going to get a lot better feel on what kind of player. I think watching, if somebody came to me and said that, oh, Lendeborg, he's going to be an All-American this year. So, yeah, why do you say that? Oh, well, he scored 17 at UAB, and he was ranked by so-and-so as the number 1 player in the portal. That's about as much as I know. It's, okay, that's what you're taking your shot. But if I had somebody say, I watched 5 the complete UAB games this year, and I think Lendeborg is going to be more of a center that is going to do more damage. And you say, okay, he's got something he's going about. Got some credibility there. Rip is saying Sadler would be a big loss. Yeah, I feel like Sadler should be at Michigan, but I don't know all the things behind it. If you take 3 guys that are all that you really like, and Sadler's waiting to the fall, and you say, hey, we'll still take you. And he's like, yeah, I don't really want to come in with 3 wide receivers. I mean, what are you going to do? John is talking smoke with Calvin Russell. John's saying he might change his mind on Bellamy if he closes on some of these wide receivers. Yeah, I really don't get. I mean, this is one of the things that people do, John. People that don't like Ron Bellamy, you've never met Ron Bellamy. I don't really know what you're asking of Ron Bellamy. Ron Bellamy started in 2021. If you're looking for how the team has done on the field, and he's been part of that, the team's been great. If you're looking specifically for wide receivers, we know Michigan has run the ball mostly when it's come down to it. If you're looking for some specifics where some players that you're talking about, Roman Wilson was great. What he was able to do with Kojo. I mean, what's the angst? I think, and this is not just directed at you, John. I see it all the time. There's always one coach that somebody's looking at and saying, "Oh, this is a big year for this guy," or he could be on his way out. And I think people feel like that about Bellamy. Hey, look. If over the next 2 years with Bryce Underwood, there's a lot of these coaches. This is the position they want to be in. But let's, is Ron Bellamy? Let's see. Now he gets a bunch of wide receivers, and now they're going to start throwing the ball. Is he all of a sudden he's going to be a good coach or something? I don't know why people. They just because they wanted to throw the ball more when Harbaugh was going to run the ball more. So that meant Bellamy must have been a horse bleep wide receiver coach. Eddie thinks TJ Zion and CJ is going to be a good haul. Well, I'll tell you what, I would take that haul right now of TJ, Zion, and let's say TJ, CJ, and Zion. Got a nice ring to it. But, Kelvin is the one. Kelvin the third, CR3, has put a little bit of, interesting spin on things. Detroit is talking about the OC matters. Jay, he'll take any of them, hopefully all of them. Rip knows about the recruitment of Sadler, saying that he did go to Boulder. Sadler's a take no matter what. I don't know how I didn't know he was in Boulder. He just got back from Boulder. I was bummed when I didn't see him at the big house over the weekend. How do we not get a recruit from Detroit? Yeah, I would still say that Michigan's the leader for Sadler. Isn't that what, don't you think that? Let's see. Antoine doesn't think Michigan needs highly ranked receivers. As long as at least two of Michigan's offense is not predicated on passing like Ohio State's. All right. Well, these are the arguments that we go through. I like. JD, JDA, JD. Get Bryce weapons and let him cook. McCulley and Marsh are good starts. I would also put Browder into that. This is true. Michigan did not win a natty by throwing the ball. Didn't McCulley get the number one? Yes, he must have earned it. WB has listened to plenty of podcasts, and it seems all of them have us losing to Oklahoma. What do you think, Big Dog? I think that right now, Michigan, this is my prediction right now. I have Michigan at 9-3, and I do have them losing to Oklahoma. I have them losing at USC, and I have them losing at Nebraska. Now, I kind of feel like heading into the season that I may play a Michigan card, and I'll call it a Michigan homer card, because most people that watch these podcasts, they're Michigan fans. They want to hear that Michigan's going to the college football playoff. And honestly, I want Michigan to go to the college football playoff. I want Michigan to go to 10-2. I want Bryce Underwood to be serviceable, get better. And then Michigan, this is really, when you look at it, I'd call it an easy schedule. It's manageable. They can get to the college football playoff. It's going to be a good season if they make it to the college football playoff. It's going to be a disappointing season if they don't. So sitting here talking about, well, I think Michigan's going to have a disappointing season, nobody wants to hear that. So why should I even sell that, even if I think it? So I think the thing is play the Michigan card and say, look, I think Michigan's going to the college football playoff. I think they're going to go 10-2. That's not how I feel right now. I feel like this is my real feeling is that they're going to go 9-3. And yeah, those road games, true freshman quarterback on the road. I happen to think with Mateer, the running back they got from Cal, defensive end that I've been reading about, playing at night at Norman. I think that's going to be tough for a quarterback that's wet behind his ears. I know Michigan can rely on their running game. I know Michigan is expected to have a pretty good defense, which is supposed to travel, even in the non-conference. But, you can make that case with every game on the board for Michigan. So maybe I should just say I think they're going to win them all. They'll probably drop one here or there. They're going to the college football playoff. Go Blue! Kind of what people want to hear. So I'm feeling like maybe I'll start changing my approach. But right now, for as much as people are going to be like, that's not music to my ears, I have Michigan losing to Oklahoma and going 9-3. But that's just where it's at right now. Like I said, that can change. Yeah. RPO with Bryce and let him have the full range of the offense. Yeah, I think that they're going to try. I think the one run that I saw, Underwood could be a great runner. The escapability, run to set yourself up with the pass. I mean, he's everything. Scar, who's here a lot, he doesn't like a lot of quarterback running. He didn't like him getting hit. So if we think about what Harbaugh did with JJ just ran in the big games. And that doesn't sound like a bad idea. Running a quarterback on RPO can be very helpful to win a game. So do it in the games, do it in the big games. So the big games, the thing about Michigan, and this is a tough, if there is a tough thing about the schedule, is I think that they play 2 of their toughest 4 games in the first 4 weeks and at Oklahoma and at Nebraska. If you're somebody that looks at that and says, "No, just kill those teams," that's great. I hope you're right about that. But Michigan doesn't have, Antoine, you really like the walkover games. Antoine would like to have a complete schedule of nothing but easy games. Let's go. That's his dream. That's not like that this year on paper. Oklahoma looks tough. I think Nebraska is going to be tough. So let's see. Let's see where we're at. We'll take a few more here, and then we got some basketball. Antoine wasn't a big a fan of some of the coaches here. Antoine saying he was disgusted by Campbell not using Orgy in the RPO game, especially if you're not going to have him throw. Instead, you run the obvious student body left and right. Yeah, not Campbell. You weren't disgusted with. I was disgusted with was it Kirk Campbell? Yeah, I guess so. It is a Campbell. I was like, okay, wait, not Soup Campbell, Kirk Campbell. Okay, sorry, Antoine. Antoine probably just slammed his fist. Polos Hermanos, is that what it's called, Ken? Right down there on Jackson and Zeeb. That's pretty good. That's a new place. Antoine thinks Lindsay will be an upgrade. John thinks Chip and his spread and smash will be a great fit. Spread and smash. I like that. This is true. The feedback is good. Today's. Let's just keep reading them. Warsaw's. Doesn't think Dante Moore is all that, especially after the spring game, but Oregon could say the same thing about Bryce. Well, exactly. I mean, if we're just going on recruiting rankings, Dante Moore is great. Dante Moore was one of the great quarterbacks, and this is what can happen. Now, what's really best is that if Bryce Underwood could sit all year and play next year, I think he'd be a lot better quarterback. But that's not what's going to happen. He's out there. And there's a chance that there's going to be some growing pains, like there was with Dante Moore, like there was with, you look at the top quarterbacks in college football right now currently. And, Manning didn't play at Texas very much. And Arch, has third sat around for a long time. Klubnik wasn't all that hot for a couple years. Aller, not all that hot until last year. Those guys were all 5 stars. But I'm not over here telling anybody let's to tap the brakes and it could go sideways and it could be a couple years with Bryce Underwood because sure it could be, but for me, if I'm a Michigan fan, I just fully go all in on Bryce Underwood and hope that he's different, that he is going to be the 1 in 100, that he is, if it's going to be that, he is going to be hit the ground running. He is going to be awesome. It can happen. That's what sports, a lot of it is all about. You get the young player that comes in and shines immediately. And if I'm a Michigan fan, while I know that, is it more likely that he's not all that great and it takes him some time? Yeah, but there's a chance. And when you have a chance that you may have one of the greatest players of all time and that he could be great right away, even if it's not a great chance of that happening, why tap the brakes for yourself? Why not just, say it's going to be great until it's not? I think that's the way to approach Underwood. That's the way I'm approaching it. I don't want to sit here being somebody that's saying, well, it's pointing out all of the top ranked quarterbacks that it's taken some time with. Well, let's just think that Underwood's going to be different than those guys. That's it. Ooh. Let's see what we're on here. Antoine's talking about Andre Rison as a coach at a high school. Michigan to call him up. He would be an upgrade at receivers coach for Michigan. Well, I don't know how you would know that he would be. Bad Moon was a great wide receiver himself. And Bad Moon, so what would it have been before the pandemic? I was a member of the Dexter, I don't know what the gym's called, Wellness Center, that's what it's called. And I looked over the one day and I'm like, well, that looks like Bad Moon Rising. And then I saw him, that I was upstairs and I saw him down shooting hoops with this Australian pro that I was always shooting with. And then the next week I was down there with the Australian pro and I'm like, hey, is Andre Rison? He's like, oh yeah, Bad Moon's here. Pretty good ball player too. That's as an aside. I didn't get to play with Bad Moon, and then I don't belong to that gym anymore. But Antoine, I think you're just falling for what I fall for it too. You're falling for a name. You don't know that Andre Rison is an upgrade at receivers coach. You don't know that at all. I don't know why you don't like Ron Bellamy. Ron Bellamy, a Michigan man, who since he's been here, Michigan's won 3 Big Ten championships, a national championship, and he's taken some wide receivers and he's really elevated their play. And it's Is it a mystery? No, it's not. It goes back to what I said before. The fans zero in on a coach, and I don't know if somebody that does a podcast like this that starts talking about it and then people pick it up and it just snowballs. But I would challenge that particular person or whatever it is who you're listening to that Ron Bellamy's fine. And I know you guys think for yourself. But you're also you're falling for the old let's pick apart one of the coaches that we think isn't up to snuff. We're going to find out over the next 2 years, aren't we? Yeah. Ooh. I'll be at the Oklahoma game. You know, I was thinking today, somebody asked me, what's the best thing about Michigan football? And my immediate answer, which I don't know if it was a great answer or not, I said everything. I said, can you narrow it down for me a little bit? I said, they just anything that you're looking for, they have. They're a winner. The stadium's the best. The uniform's the best. The school that can attract the players is a great school. We all know that. And so it's like following recruiting. It's always fun because they get the best players. They got no limitations. They're one of the blue bloods. And, football is king in this country. And they're one of the chosen teams in college football. And they have been forever. And he said, I thought you were going to say going to the games. And I said, that's, I've said the stadium. And he said, because he said, to me, it's the game day experience. And he was starting to strum up the music, and I started following I was picking up what he was laying down. He loved tailgating. He loved going into the stadium. He was talking about running out the band. He was talking about the crowd. And I think I was like, you know what? You're right. It is. It's the game day experience, but all those other things. But yeah, the Oklahoma game. The Oklahoma game was great. Now, look, I thought the Texas game was great in the offseason, and then that Saturday came and Michigan got slapped upside the head, and I didn't feel like it was so great. But it was a great game on paper. And this Oklahoma game is great. Going to Texas next year, the team that a lot of people think is going to win the national championship, maybe Michigan can I like that. Texas wins, and then Michigan returns the favor in 27. Like Texas did to Michigan as they were the defending champ. I like it. Yeah, the Oklahoma game, Nick, you're the man for going there. What's up, Kind Tick? What's up? We'll see if there's anyone new that's jumping in. Kind Tick's talking about splitting the Oklahoma and Nebraska games. Antoine's going back to last year saying, we could have beat him if we had a quarterback or a better game plan. Yeah, I think the quarterback play last year was the worst ever. That's a good place to start. No, I'm not putting that one up. No, we're going to stay away from but I will put this one up because that also gets me into what the Yaxel Borg. It's right here that I will be looking forward to chugging here soon. We got a while for basketball. Let's get to the last couple things here. I'm going a little bit longer than I thought. Carter Meadows, he was in this weekend. Michigan wants him. If I had to, let's see, I made a few notes on Carter Meadows. Looks like a tough one. OSU, Penn State, South Carolina, Michigan. That's a tough one. But edge you. It'd be nice. Michigan's going to get a commitment today, tonight. They could get 2 here in the next 2 days. If I could just have a pick of one I would want, this would be the one I would want. Carter Meadows. Let's see it. Make it happen. So this Friday, Malachi Lee is going to pick between Georgia, USC, and Michigan. That would be nice. Also coming up, so if that's the June 27th is Friday, so that means a week from today, Andre Clark Jr., Michigan's expected to pick Clark Jr. up. They lead for him. I'll go ahead and put a forecast in for him. Clark Jr. to Michigan. Goodwin is a linebacker who on the 1st of July, key date, 1st of July, it's opt-in. You can pay money from the coffers of the university. Rivals and On3 are merging. I mean, 7-1 is going to be out of sight. And Goodwin is going to announce for Michigan. There's another. Put me down for another forecast on Kenneth Goodwin. All signs point to Goodwin going to Michigan. That'll be a good win for Michigan. All right, and so here we go with Yaxel. I am going to watch some UAB film. I was talking with that same person today who asked me about Michigan basketball then after I was talking about what I thought about Michigan football. And this person said that he was listening to the podcast, and he said that I said that LJ Kayson was the most important player for this year's Michigan basketball team. And he said, I disagree with you. It's Yaxel. And he made the case. Your best player needs to be your best player. Which, sounds a little cliche-ish, but it is true. Why I have the NBA pre-draft camp measured out Yaxel at 6'8.5" without shoes, but they did come up with his without shoes wingspan 7'4". I was listening to Stephen A. Smith talk about Kevin Durant today, and he was like, "It's that wingspan." And I'm all in on the wingspan of Lendeborg, but if I make the shift over to basketball, would I take back that LJ Kayson is the most important player because he's probably not a starter? It's probably going to be Elliot Cadeau, who has started 37 games for North Carolina over the past few years. He's likely going to be the starter for Michigan, and then Kayson is going to come in. So how can you make a case for a backup point guard being the most important player? Well, what I was thinking was that after a while that I thought Kayson would take over for Cadeau. And I don't know, Cadeau might be great. I hope he is. But LJ, I was thinking would take over. And then the point guard position being the most important position on the floor. That was my case. But the part about Lendeborg being the real deal is, of course, an argument that you can make. The one thing that we've seen plenty of transfers be great, and we've seen them not be so great. And this is one of those situations where it is an up transfer. Is UAB, what's that, in the Sun Belt? Playing in the Sun Belt and then transferring up to the Big Ten is a little bit different. So it is a question mark of how he will be as an up transfer. But the ceiling for Lendeborg, could he be a player of the year candidate? Does that sound crazy to you? It doesn't sound crazy to me. Talking about him being an All-American. Of course, if I think he can be the player of the year, I think he can be everything. Because if he's the national player of the year, then he could be the player. He's going to be the Big Ten player of the year. He's going to be an All-American. So I guess I'm working backwards from that. But that's the kind of ceiling that Lendeborg has. That's why people, and he is, when you look at this team, you go all the way down. Maybe Trey McKinney's going to be off. He needs to be the superstar. OKC got a lot of great performances last night. But SGA is the reason that they were with the trophy. And he won the MVP. For Michigan to get to Indianapolis, that's where the Final Four is next year. I would think that they do need Lendeborg to be the up transfer. He doesn't have to win National Player of the Year, but they need him to be their best player. And if he is, they all that other stuff feel like is going to extend and guys can fall into place. So got to hand it to John, who I was talking with today. What's the best thing about Michigan football? Is LJ K-Son really Michigan basketball's most important player? 2 good points. And thanks, John, because you said you listened to all of the pods by driving around. So that it. Dante Moore was not it. Yeah, but Dante Moore could be. I wouldn't rule out Dante Moore still being an excellent quarterback. I mean, so we know about the prep play. It takes guys, most guys, even the top guys. I know I'm getting back to the Bryce Underwood stuff. It usually takes guys a while. At the quarterback position, there's some rare occasions, but and I know they're working so much. They work at the camps now and the nutrition and how much they're working out and they're much more ready at certain positions now than they ever were. The camps that they go through. Bryce Underwood was he started as a true freshman from day one in high school. So, but yeah, Dante Moore could still be a tremendous player for Oregon. I mean, what do you think they're saying about Dante Moore? Oregon's going to be a top 5 team in the country. And Dante Moore is the big question. But is it really going to be that surprising with all of the talent that Oregon has around Dante Moore that he shows out and he's a pretty good player? I didn't watch those games. I know some people did when he was out at UCLA and said, wow, he didn't look all that hot. Okay. But it wouldn't surprise me if Dante Moore, people were like, oh, he's looking pretty good. Watching this show is part of my state rehabilitation process. Is that a compliment or a criticism? I'm not really sure there. Woo! Rep likes when I stand up for the coaching staff. I just give my, sometimes I'm critical. Depends what we're talking about. You don't know that anybody would be a good coach. That's why you give them a try. No, I think that you identify rising stars just like you do as a prep player. If Andre Rison, like you're saying, is he a head coach somewhere? Well, if you go there and you would watch his team, you say, wow, this team is on the mark, man. This team is well. You go and you can say, well, that's a well-coached team. You know what was said about Ron Bellamy when he was at West Bloomfield? Man, this guy runs a tight program. I just know myself. I remember interviewing in 2020 Bellamy when he was at West Bloomfield and talked to him about 10, 20 minutes. And when he was done, he's got it. I think he'll be a future head coach for all you that are down on Ron. John met Wink Martindale at the Chop House and said, thanks for the defense. And we got a picture. I changed my mind about him. It's an interesting feedback and how when you can meet someone, it can change your perception about them. Now, look, Wink went out there in the first 3 or 4 games. Everybody was like, Wink sucks. He blitzed too much. And they had a point. And look, Wink's defense looked terrible against Texas. And, I don't know how great it looked against USC, but they won the game. But, it looked like they finally got the terminology and they straightened some things around. And I'll say, obviously, by the end of the year, and the performance they had at Ohio State was one of the great performances ever at Michigan. It reminds me of my former radio partner who said his dad hated Willie Hernandez, the reliever for the Tigers. Always bitched about, oh, Willie this, Willie that. And then he met Willie Hernandez. And my former radio partner thought, oh, boy, my dad's probably going to lay into Willie Hernandez here. And Willie was nice to him. Like, he was like, hey, what's going on? You know, I don't know, he signed the ball for him, whatever else. And then he was like a huge Willie Hernandez, never complained about Willie Hernandez again. And Willie Hernandez went on and won the Cy Young. The Tigers won the World Series. That does happen. And a little bit of that is me with Ron Bellamy. I heard him. Sometimes, you listen to somebody and you think, that guy, I knew that, and this is part of it, but just a small part of it. The first or second time that I watched Sharon Moore just do one of the news conferences that he does with, the media, the coaches do, I listen to him, and this guy sounds like a future head coach. He knows how to hold the room. He knows how to captivate an audience. He has that it when it comes to communicating. He's got it. That's no small thing, but it's not everything. I mean, you gotta do a lot of things when you're a head coach, but Bellamy has that. It's nice when you can hear somebody and you say, well, Jim Harbaugh didn't have that. That's true. Harbaugh, it really wasn't that. Let's see. There's Mike. There's Rip getting down to some basketball. Sometimes, let's see. Hold on. I'm going to get some of the feedback over here just for a second. People saying that Soup is the de facto coach. No. That's fan stuff. It's like Fred Jackson. Is it Fred Jackson or is it Tony Alford? Are we down on Tony Alford too? Is it Fred? Those things are weird. Let's go. Ooh, we got some feedback on feedback crime here. Ripstar is saying that Devin Gardner slammed Kindtech for talking smack on Makari Page. I don't know what. Devin Gardner rolled his eyes at me one time. He was out at he was doing some film review out at a bar in Michigan, and my friend wanted to go. We went up there, and what was going on? I was standing there, and I had mentioned Pro Football Focus. And this happens a lot with former players. And I said, I don't remember what the question was, but we were talking, and I said something like, Pro Football Focus has him as a, top 5 lineman. And Gardner, you could just tell he hated the idea that I was referencing a website, to talk about some player. He said, what in the hell? Like, what the hell do those guys know? I don't know. They're former players like yourself that they grade out a player, and it's subjective. But you can tell that he didn't know that, but he was, and maybe he has a different opinion of it now, but he was Pro Football Focus. Who cares what they have to say? But that was a long time ago. He might know more now. Might know more and feel differently about him now. Morez Johnson Jr. on the under-19 team. Yeah, that's right. That's great for MJJ. More on Ron Bellamy. Yax and Morris, the combo. Yeah, I'd like to see that. Detroit is talking about Morris Johnson. The returners are our biggest contribution because of the culture. Yeah, the I don't know about culture. Thing is, with your culture is going to be set by Dusty May. Who's coming back? LJ Kaysen, who I mentioned, is he really going to set any culture? I don't know. It's nice that he's gone through practices. He knows the coach and everything else. Namari Burnett, senior, important wing shooter for Michigan. It's great that he's coming back. He's not. It doesn't appear to me to be a very vocal type player. Is he really going to set any culture? No. Gale Jr., I don't know. Gale Jr., I can't see being any kind of culture setter. Cheddar. Cheddar's the one. Cheddar would set some. So, but those four guys, if Yaxel, if the guys that are coming in like Yaxel and Morris Johnson Jr. and Cadeau, those three could set the culture a lot more than Will Cheddar talking about, well, I've been around for a couple years. I mean, it sounds good, though. I agree with that, but, I'm not so sure. Warsaw's talking numbers. McCauley's 1, Moore is 2, Samaj and Marsh can battle for 3. Marsh is 4. He was at the spring game. And Samaj is 0. And Fred Moore is 3. Oh, you're talking about, all right, I get it. Not what number they are, what option they are. Let me see if I agree with this. McCulley is number 1. I don't think that the Michigan player that will lead the team in receptions is on this list. I don't think it's McCulley, Moore, Samaj, Morgan, or Marsh. I think the player that is going to catch the most passes for Michigan this year will be number 80, Hogan Hansen. Call it a hot take or whatever you want. And I think McCulley is going to get some jump balls and he'll be in the end zone. He'll probably throw 1 or 2. Former quarterback. I could definitely see that in the bag of tricks. So I could see him scoring the most touchdowns, but I think it's going to be Hogan Hansen that's going to get the most receptions. And I think a surprise player is going to be Samaj Morgan. People are down on him. But they're down on him. You should be down on the quarterbacks last year, not so much down on Samaj Morgan. That's it. And nobody's should be sleeping on Michigan basketball. Let's see. We can get a few more. That's coming in here. We're getting towards the end. And I think people are, there you go. Day 12, let's play some golf. Let's do it. The host of this show grew up in Brightmoor. I went to that elementary school off of Lasher, man. Your neighborhood, God bless. I went, you bring up elementary schools. It's funny, just over this weekend. I was going to say, can I remember the name of my kindergarten? Hubert Elementary on Lampfair in Brightmoor. They are tearing it down. They had the fences around it. And I'm on a Facebook group like kids that went to Hubert Elementary. I'm there. Remember lining up outside the school, walking down there, going to school. And they're tearing it down. Well, what's going to happen to that that field that is there, but it is going to be gone. That's sad. I mean, those kind of things happen. It's not a very fun group to be in. I went there for 1 year, and people are always like, there's never been one time that somebody's been like, hey, did anybody go to kindergarten here or there? And it doesn't happen. 7 Mile in Pearson. Is that Brightmoor? Antoine, are we Brightmoor brothers? I was a Kendall and Lamfair, right on the corner. Go down Lamfair, play baseball in the AAA parking lot. That parking lot's still there. I don't think it's a AAA anymore. I don't know what it is, but that's it. We're talking Lasher and Evergreen here. Houghton Elementary. I don't know. I can't remember having lunch or anything to drink in elementary, kindergarten. Maybe you don't go the whole day. Maybe you go home and eat. That's it. Look at this. Believe it or not, we grew up in the same area. There you go. If I would have gone to high school, it would have been Redford High School, which is in Detroit. But I don't. I wasn't. I got out. I was out. And I said got out of there. After 7th grade, that's it. And then we have Mason Elementary. I dropped out in middle school. No dropping out. So that's going to do it. We'll be back here on Wednesday. I think there's going to be at least 2 commitments before we're back on Wednesday that we'll be able to talk about. We'll dig something up. We'll do a spotlight on one of the players, basketball-wise, and then more recruiting. In between now and then, we will see you over on the Maize and Blue Review. That's what it's all about. Maybe we'll talk about. This is, I think this is a record, longest podcast that I've ever done. There we go. I hope it plays out. It was all you guys, man. You guys were just rolling with the questions. We just kept going. Thanks so much. We'll talk with you on Wednesday. We'll see you over on the Maize and Blue Review. A couple minutes. See ya.